Hey everybody, Stu Smith here, going live, taking some questions, giving some answers. Mikhail, you are ready to go. Good to see you. Second Monday of the year. Hope you guys are still crushing your new goals if you had some. This time of year is a tough one for many people because they soon find out that creating new habits and breaking old bad habits is very hard work. It is not easy, but it is definitely achievable one step at a time. Just do something. It doesn't have to be hardcore, doesn't have to be like workouts when you were 20, just something. Even if it's just waking up early, stretching, and going for a quick walk, that is moving in the right direction. Eventually, you'll be able to take that time that you've just set aside for yourself and build upon it. But you're not going to build anything if you don't try to find a place in your day to fit whatever that new goal is. And usually that comes with breaking a bad habit as well. So right now, it's all about creating habits. And hopefully, the second week, you're still pretty motivated from your first week going into it. Unfortunately, statistically speaking, this is the week that many people call I think there's a National Quitters Day. And that's unfortunate that usually 3 weeks into the New Year's resolution, the word resolution is no longer in our vocabulary. And it shouldn't be. Set a goal. Let's move towards that goal. While you're motivated, let's build some good habits. Next thing you know, those habits turn into discipline, and that discipline turns into mental toughness, and you are a different person in about a month to 6 weeks. Feeling better, looking better. You keep doing this for the rest of the year, and next year at this time, you're going to be saying, "Holy crap, I'm a whole different person." So there you go. There's my little motivational speech to those who are trying to come up with some new goals and just keep moving when the rest of the world is life is getting in your way somehow. You got to figure out how to get out of that and figure out a way to make it fit in your life. If you need help, just email me. I'll give you some ideas. Stu at Stu Smith, or ask questions. I'm taking questions right now. So, um, this is week 3 of our lift cycle. I think I got a lift cycle right here. Yep. So, week 3 of our winter lift cycle. So, this one isn't too challenging. It's about the third week of a lot of reps. We're doing lighter weight, more reps, really focusing on technique and still getting a little bit of cardio in there, not too much. Focusing on technique of treading and swimming and all that too. But at the end of this week, we'll be in week 4, and it's a fun week. It's pretty much my classic PST week. I don't know if you've ever seen that article. I'll put it in the description. But what it's not quite that classic PST week, Stu Smith. Um, so this is a fun one, and I've had people just do this for 3 weeks straight, and they did a whole lot better on their PST. But usually every fourth week of our lift cycle, we are doing something very similar to this PST week. Um, a lot of times people are preparing for PSTs, but we happen to be in a winter lift cycle. No big deal. We just alter it for them and make sure that they are focusing on their PST. All right, so let's take some questions. So it doesn't really matter what lift cycle you're on. If you need a little deload week, try that PST week, especially if you're trying to stay good at PST level exercises, pull up, push up, sit ups, mile and a half run, 500-yard swim. That's our standard Navy PST here. All right, so Mikhail was first one here, so gets the first question. Um, if an Army guy were to replace some running because of shin splints, would it be with biking or swimming? Good question. And would you replace some fast runs with fast biking or slow runs with slow biking? Um, Here's the problem. I have found that running is a lot harder than biking unless you are really putting out on that bike. So when we're running fast, I tend to do uh, like a pyramid or a Tabata interval, where it's 20-second sprint, 10-second easy. Do that for 5 to 10 minutes. The pyramid's really fun. I have found that this is a great leg day version. So if you're just doing a steady run or goal pace run, what I like to do if I can't run is a pyramid where you start off level one on a bike, and or you can do elliptical too. Keep it at like 70 to 80 RPMs. All right, that's the goal. In fact, it can be over 80 RPMs, but it can't be under 70 RPMs. And every minute on the minute, you just raise it a level. Now, if you don't have much time, this workout can take some time to get up to level 20, which is really hard to do. Um, so you may want to go up by twos. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, get yourself up to 20 in 10 minutes, and then come back down in reverse order. Take about 20 minutes to do that. That is a butt kicker. First 4 minutes, 5 minutes, easy day. The middle 10 minutes suck, and the last 5 minutes are pretty easy. So for me, it's like the perfect workout. You kind of warm up, max out, this hurts, and you come back down. And your goal is try to maintain that RPM where you are staying, in that 70 to 80 RPM range. Now, if you're on a elliptical, it's a little bit different, probably 50 to 60 steps per minute, or I'm not sure how they measure it, but somewhere in that range is typical. And it also depends on the type of bike and elliptical you're on. I get that, but somewhere in that you just find a nice range where it's pretty easy your first five, but you'll find that sets 10, 20 are really getting a little more challenging. And that's just a good goal to kind of stick with. Let's see. Alex says, "Good morning. Thank you." Sean asks, "So I'm thinking about going recon and then trying out for MARSOC. Do you think that would work out?" Yeah, a lot of people do that. A lot of people do that. In fact, I interviewed a guy who did that on my two through and after. Nick Kumalatsos. Check him out. Um, I think he even has a recon prep program too. Um, so do I, but not saying mine is better, but it is a lot of people use it. Crush recon training. The difference is you're going to have to take your 500-meter test in camis. Now you don't have to wear boots, but you have to wear your pants and your top and swim. And you can't do freestyle. You can do side stroke or breaststroke, and it sucks. It's a very hard thing to do. You need to practice swimming in camis. I would say that's one of the hardest events if you're going to prepare for that swim. And then of course you got 3-mile runs, you got pull-ups, you got obstacle courses. Um, that's a good little screener. They have a fun little screener weekend to see if you can qualify for recon. And they're pretty regular. So once you're gotten through all your infantry stuff and you're in your unit, you'll see tryouts for recon and give yourself a few months at least to prepare yourself for those specific events. But yeah, I think that's a great call. You can definitely do that. So I've been seen in an old I have seen in an old underwater swimming video, okay, made by you, that you were dolphin stroking in between strokes. Is that effective or a waste of energy? I was dolphin kicking. If I was just playing around with it. It depends. If you have a good dolphin kick, and let's say you've practiced a good dolphin kick and you can see some movement in that dolphin kick, then absolutely. For me, for swimming underwater, I definitely add a little dolphin kick into that little glide because it's effective. Um, so you do a big kick off the wall. Well, one wall you can kick off, one you got to do a flip, and then but you just got to do a big double arm pull, and that is basically a breaststroke pull out style pull. Hold that glide real tight. Keep your arms there after that pull because you'll go pretty far after that arm pull. Then you got to kick and recover, and right before I do another arm pull, I throw in a dolphin kick. And it feels like it just kind of helps me wind up and then boom, pull that arm back. Uh, but yeah, that's how I do it. Usually get across a 25-yard pool in about 4 to 5 strokes. That's your goal. So, is it a waste of energy? It is if you suck at dolphin kicks. Flutter kicks are a waste of energy if you suck at flutter kicks and you're not in shape to do them. So, and that's a big if. I'm not sure what you're trying to say there. Can women do though? Can women do the? Can women do this too? All right. Took 3 times to ask that. You do what? Work out? Absolutely. We're just talking fitness. What are you talking about? I still need to gain about 15 pounds, work on my conditioning, get a little more strength. I had planned on depping next week. What? That's a horrible idea. You plan on gaining 15 pounds in depth? Because here's what happens. You're just going to be taking PSTs in depth. You got to work out on your own. And now you're on their timeline, not yours. That's the problem. You may need 6 months, but they only give you 3 and you got to ship. Why are you doing that? Horrible idea. Go when you are ready. That is the ideal plan. Don't set a timeline because once you join DEP, you're in their timeline. You set a performance starting line. Then you go to DEP. Once you've reached your goals physically, height, weight, pull ups, push ups, sit ups, 4-mile timed runs, swimming with fins, you are ready. Now you can spend that time in DEP just working on some whatever new weaknesses you might find, like treading water or some of the other specifics. I'm reading into the next question. This is funny. What makes swimming in cami so hard? That is asked by a person who's never done it. You have no glide. It's just constant movement. You can't hold a glide when you're swimming with camis because as soon as you pull, you stop. It is like swimming in mud. It's not easy. I want to be a machine gunner for my MOS, but I cannot get used to the heavy loads and rucking. Yeah, you're too small for a machine gunner. They'll never let you do machine gunner. You need to grow up. My size carrying heavy loads put a toll on my body before I ever go to recon. Yeah, usually machine gunners are 200 pounders. I mean, every now and then you might see a 175, 180 pounder machine gunner, but there's a reason why big guys carry the machine gun. One, it's really heavy, and two, all the ammo that you have to carry is really heavy. Um, yeah, you just put your gun, just put your M4 on auto if you want a machine gun. You get a automatic option. Huh. Forest through the trees, man. Forest through the trees. Just get in shape, put on some mass. Don't be in a hurry. And if you're still a teenager, you're probably a hard gainer, Sean. I'm not sure what your age is, but um, you definitely might need to get out of puberty, finish growing, unless you've capped out at 5'3", 120. They had told me if I dep, I could wait for a full year before I ship. Is that BS? No, it's true, but they're going to be pressuring you for the first quarter, maybe even the first 6 months of saying, hey, we got a ship date for you. You ready? Ship date for you. You ready? Now you're going to go on this next ship date. So is it BS? Potentially. Your recruiters can screw you like that. Have they? And the only reason why I'm saying this is that I've seen it happen. Like, hey, I got a ship, in February and I meant to stay in July. My question is, why the hurry to dep in? Why rush when you're not ready? I wrote an article or kind of a post, and here I'm going to read this to you guys because some of you guys need to hear this. In fact, I wrote it in a post yesterday, and I'm just going to read this word for word. Are you interested in becoming a special operator or actually working hard to become the most qualified candidate to apply? I find one of the major issues with recruiting for special ops is that the candidate population is littered with people interested in becoming a blank, name a spec ops job, and not the most qualified. They are just interested and not the most qualified. Military recruiting departments do not do a good job at finding the most qualified people for the job that boasts over 50% attrition rate, depending on your branch of service. Some recruitment programs are better than others. I do like the Air Forces. Seem to be doing a pretty good job. They do find qualified people to serve in conventional status quite well. That's really what they're doing. They don't really care if you go spec ops. This is where most of you are going to go if you don't take responsibility for your preparation long before you join the military. It is easy to find people interested in the job, but most of those people wind up serving their 4-year enlistment in a job they were not interested in starting in a matter of weeks of service. That is your fault, not the military's. In the end, it is on you. You have to understand that an interest in being special ops is not going to get you through some of the toughest training in the world. Your interest does not prepare you for the level of fitness, durability, work capacity, and resilience needed to endure specific events of your training. Now, I wrote that last night, and it's up on my Instagram if you want to see it. So, that's my problem. Most people are just interested in spec ops, and they really are not interested in the hard work that is required of spec ops. They might be interested in the hard work of spec ops, but they have no idea what that hard work really entails. They have no idea what hard work is. Jake says, you might have answered this before, but what does the path to come work out with you look like? Sign up, show up. Sorry if the info is available. Yes, the info is available over at, type it in for everybody, heroesoftomorrow.org. Sure I spelled that right. Heroesoftomorrow.org. Check that out. There's a little video in there as well as my schedule. As long as you are preparing to serve in the military, law enforcement, firefighter professions, you can come join our local training group. In fact, we have FBI agents that are preparing for SWAT teams. Um, we have high school kids preparing for service academy. We have college age kids that are preparing for spec ops, all branches. And we got people in every pipeline you can think of right now. So that's how it works. Hey, Sue, why were you one of the few men who passed SEAL training? Kindest why? Um, you know what? Prepared my ass off. I joined the military at 18 years old, went to the Naval Academy, and got my ass handed to me with the basics, the most basics of fitness tests and standards. And I realized right then that I really got to turn things around if I'm even just going to pass and stay here at the Naval Academy for 4 years. Luckily, I figured it out, had some good mentors, understood what I needed to do to get to where I wanted to be. Then I got the idea of going into the SEAL training pipeline, I'd say probably about sophomore year. So I spent a good 2 years just preparing for that journey with people who were better than me in everything. And it took me 2 years to even build up to be in the same room with them. And luckily, I was able to get that slot right after the after graduation. Went there. We sent 20 people my year from the Naval Academy to go to SEAL training, and all 20 of us made it because we trained our asses off for it. Period. What is your recon fitness guidebook called? It is called USMC Special Ops, PFT, Recon, MARSOC Fitness. Have you asked any of your guys in the typical average height weight how many calories they eat? No. Um, mostly because some of them are trying to gain weight, some of them trying to lose weight. Just depends on where they are. Some of them are just trying to maintain it and are having a hard time maintaining it because they are working out in a way where they're burning, I don't know, 3,000 calories a day on top of a manual labor job where they're burning another couple thousand calories a day. And then just living, you burn about 2,000 calories a day. So just to maintain weight, a lot of them are eating 5,000, 6,000 calories. So there's no one answer for how many calories someone eats, as the answer is it depends on if they're trying to maintain, trying to lose, trying to gain, how much they are actually working. So, but yeah, there's a lot going on with that question. Hello from College Station, Texas A&M. On track as much as I can be. Pool here has been closed due to maintenance. Yeah, that sucks. Every year about this time, sometimes that happens. But I plan to make up the swims on my off day and in town. Frustrating. Yep, understand. We do the same. COVID was horrible with that. All the pools closed around here. We were swimming in the bay, and I tied these bungee things to me and would swim in my neighbor's pool. You know, It's- but we made it happen. All right. Colvier Pierre Michael says, "Hey Stu, how do you manage the cold? For instance, surf torture for long periods of time without without moving, running. Thanks." Um, yeah, I really don't have a good answer for that. It is just something you need to endure. Um, and you know what? I'd be honest with you, would find my happy place and I would just literally dissociate from whatever was happening. Right. If I was sitting there in the cold and it's 10 o'clock at night and the day started at 5 in the morning and it's just been one of those long days and I literally start thinking about what am I going to do when this is over? So I start planning my evening, getting out of my wet clothes, taking a shower, cleaning up, putting on sweatpants and sweatshirt and getting under a big blanket and getting warm, maybe hang out by the heater for a little bit, whatever it is. And, how much I'm going to eat afterwards. I try to envision tasting a big glass of milk and whatever, some protein and carbs, get ready for the next day, some electrolytes, get ready for the next day. And then I go to bed in my head. Right. It is all part of a little just going away. I'm looking forward to that moment so much. And eventually, guess what? That moment happens and it happens just the way you played it out. And it is awesome. So that's what I did. Just go to a happy place because it's about the only thing you can do. No, I don't think all recruiters are bad, JT. I just think, why be in a hurry? Right? If this Here's the deal. Let's say you're 18 years old and you want to be spec operator. Great. You are interested in being a spec operator. Have you spent majority of your life preparing for what is going to be the hardest challenge up till then in your life? And if you haven't, you got some time where you need to do that. There's nothing in the Navy, for instance, that is going to prepare you for buds. Boot camp won't do it. Prep won't do it. Just don't have enough time. You have to do this years in advance. Whether that is playing sports, being aggressive in, hard work all day, studying at night, working out on your own, just long, hard days that just suck. And you're never looking forward to a Monday because you're just going to have to work your ass off even more. Um, those are some of the times that actually help you build some resilience. And you wake up Monday morning, you get it done anyway. Um, so if you think about it, 18-year-old kid thinks he's got to join at 18 years old when you really have until 28, 29 years old to join. So you don't have this small window between 18 and 20 that you have to join or you're too old, right? You have till almost 9 more years after that. So don't think of it as a small window. Think of it as literally a barn door of time that you can go join the military when you are ready, not because you turn 18. Let's see. Sorry, posts on Facebook from training sessions are so awesome, especially those you appear in them. Pure motivation. Well, thanks. We had a good one this morning. It was cold, but it was fun. What kind of training and how much training did you do to prepare for SEAL training? I think I answered that. I did not lift. I was a powerlifting football player for much of my athletic life. I lifted weights and did powerlifting and played football. 100 meters or anything after 100 meters was long distance running to me. So I turned my powerlifting football playing body into a triathlete who did calisthenics. So I literally focused for calisthenics and cardio for almost 2 years before I was anywhere in the ballpark of being competitive to go into buds. I do have some bud stories, but none that come to mind. Sometimes these questions prompt them, like what I just told you. When I was in the surf zone, I would dissociate and go to my happy place when in the surf zone. All right, let's see. What do we have here? 16, turned 17. I really want to become a SEAL. What would you recommend I work on physically and academically? Um, well, if you're still in high school, play some sports, learn how to be a team player. That's very important. You can't be Rambo, just work out on your own all the time. Whether that is sports, clubs, band, whatever, learn how to work with others, work well with others. That is very important. Um, and just start working out. You're going to have some strengths and weaknesses coming into this game. And it's not a game, poor choice of words. So figure those out. Take swim lessons. You know, start running, start lifting weights, assess yourself. Check out Stu Smith Fitness. Start off with calisthenics and cardio. In fact, I may even have one here. Look at that. Boom. Calisthenics and cardio. It's a great place for teenagers to start. After that, depending on your abilities, you might be able to advance and see how you do on the PST. That would be a good high school goal, is crushing that PST. Is selection to go to SOAS as competitive as I've read it? Yeah. Yeah, it is. Hundreds of people apply for SOAS every year, and they will take they'll take a lot. They'll probably take, well over 100 to go to SOAS, and then SOAS is a butt kicker. They lost well over 50% of the SOAS candidates just in the first week, which is very physical. They lost a lot of them just because they didn't pass the PST. So you want to be able to crush that for sure. I don't know how they think a lot of people work out really hard, crush the PST, get selected, and then they quit training for the PST. It's one of the first tests you're going to take when you're there. Can't do that. But yes, it is very selective. What are your thoughts on Bud's prep? Is it a waste of time? No, it's not a waste of time. Absolutely. It is probably one of the best things in the Navy that's going to prepare you for Buds a little bit. But its job is not to prepare you for Buds. It is to get you back in shape after going through boot camp, which was just really a deconditioning phase of fitness where in 10 weeks you may run 10 miles. So my advice is to go to boot camp just peaked out and use boot camp as a taper, try to mix in some extra workouts here and there, with waking up a little bit early, getting some squats and lunges in on leg days, do some pull-ups and push-ups. When you find a bar, work some abs. Otherwise, it's just going to suck whenever you get out of boot camp. And try not to get sick. But yeah, Buds Prep is great. It's there to kind of help boost you up a little bit, and they do a good job with that. At least get you, starting to focus towards the events that you're about to endure. So my advice is to start training for those events long before you go to prep. Then you go through boot camp, then you go to prep, and it's like a review for you. and you pick it up really quick and now you're ready to go. But if it's the first time you've ever put on a pair of scuba fins, which believe it or not, there are people whose first time ever wearing scuba fins and going swimming is at Bud's Prep. That's not what it is used for properly. That is a waste of the Bud's Prep instructor's time. For the most part. There might be a unicorn in there that's just a stud that's never put on a pair of fins on and then he just crushes it. But typically it takes some time just to get used to wearing fins on your ankles and legs. But no, I'm so glad there is a Bud's Prep because it's kind of like an A school for SOs before they go to their real training. I like to hear from you some funny stories from when you were a SEAL. Yeah, wish I had some to like pop off right over my head, but that's like, hey, tell me a joke. Sometimes they come to me. I just don't have any off the top of my head. You guys got to spark that memory. My timeline thought was that I'd finish my master's degree in December. Good. I like it. And thought it would make the most sense to ship when I graduate rather than getting a full-time job first, if that makes sense. Yeah, sure. If you can do that. And December is like 11 months away. That's plenty of time. Um, and if you're going to join DEP this early, which I don't see why you need to, you just have to tell them you can't ship until December because you are you're in a master's program and you don't graduate until December. Otherwise, they could very well say, "Hey, you get to go in March. Got you a ship date." So that if you're going to join early and you want to stay in depth longer for whatever reason, which you'll find is just a pain in the ass because you'll go to depth meetings and you'll take PSTs every other week, which you really don't need, especially after you start crushing it. You know, so it's up to you. If you want to go join DEP, go join DEP. But I would definitely tell them you got a master's degree you're trying to finish in December. So you can't ship for 11 months or say January of next year. Last thing I would do, oh, here's something else. Don't ship before Christmas because you're going to be spending Christmas at boot camp and that just sucks. So ship in January. What does SOAS pipeline consist of exactly? Sean, you should Google it. It's a week of hard training and a week of interviews in a nutshell. Basically, it is all the crappy events of first phase buds crammed into a week where there is probably 60-70% attrition in that 1 week. And then the second week, if you survived it, you get to go take interviews and do some other leadership testing type stuff, presenting, speaking, public speaking, stuff like that. So as pipeline. But yeah, it's only 2 weeks, but takes a long time to get accepted into it. Then you got to do it. Then it takes about 3 or 4 months before you know you're accepted. And then it probably take you about a couple months after that before you go to OCS. So it's basically adds a year. If you want to be an officer, it will add a year to your timeline before you actually go to OCS. If you have to go to OCS. If you're going ROTC or Naval Academy, you're already in officer training schools. Can't find the patience to wait until I finish college to enlist. Any tips? Nope, there are no tips. There's just you busting your ass and not quitting. There's my tip. Ask a better question, you'll get a better answer. But there are no tips for buds. You said something about getting less sleep at boot camp or somewhere because you had to work out. Can you recover from the workouts you do now and improve with 6 hours sleep each weekday? Yeah, you guys can. Me at 54, I cannot. My recovery time is much longer than yours. Being a younger teenager or early 20s, your recovery is going to be quite remarkable. Probably 100 times better than mine. So yes. How do I become an asset at Buds? Just be good. Be good at everything. Not have a weakness. And if you do have a weakness, make it so you've actually worked that weakness so you can bring your A game and crush, and then be helpful. Be helpful to your classmates because you're in it together, and your reputation in the team starts at Buds. Period. Be a good dude, be helpful, work hard, don't quit. That's an asset. Couple more. Let's see what we got here. Thank you for all the tips and advice. Your mentorship is amazing. Thanks for what I do. Thank you. I appreciate it. I keep forgetting that you're older now. Just seems like you're crushing it. Oh, I'm still crushing it. Just as hard as your guys, at least in another way with optimization. I am working really hard. Like today, I did same workout as all my guys did. Ran just as far. They're a little faster than I am. I will concede that, but I'm just as good at calisthenics and lifting as any of them, if not better. And swimming, definitely better than 90% of them. So, but I do feel, put it this way, I still feel Saturday's leg day. We did upper body today, whereas nobody else in the group feels Saturday's leg day. So it slowed me down even more. So that's just something that I probably could have done a little more mobility on Sunday, which would have made it a little bit better, but I did not. So lesson learned. We're still learning lessons even at in my 50s. Okay, Mikhail says probably stupid question. Can you do too much mobility training? I guess you can do too much of anything. Um, my, just like with running, you've done too much running when you have shin splints and tendonitis, right? With mobility training and flexibility training, you've done too much of that when you have pulled muscles and you're no longer feeling the benefits of stretching and being mobile. So I guess that's my answer. I mean, you can get hurt doing anything. Like if you're really tight and you try to do too much mobility training, probably could be really sore for the next few days to a point where it's debilitating. Or you could pop a muscle, like pull a hamstring or something trying to touch your toes. What's the hardest skill you have learned throughout your career? Good one. I would say um, I'll give you two of them. Treading water was really hard for me. And then I learned egg beater, but I didn't learn egg beater until I had practiced enough mobility to have my hips, knees, and ankles perform in a way to get better at egg beater kicks. So treading was a tough skill for me because I was, 8% body fat, probably, 6 foot, 195. And I could do push-ups on the bottom of a pool. I was negative, so treading was always extra work. Um, but I managed. Um, the other skills I would say would be, in a tactical side for me was just being in the moment during shooting and moving drills. So if I was in charge of a fire team and we would be doing shooting and moving drills, it's very easy to get caught up on targets and you just start pounding the targets and you're not really paying attention to everybody. Are they getting all the targets? Where, it could be three or four people shooting the same target. So I had to pull myself back and watch what's going on the battlefield in order to guide the folks in the right direction. And I think, if people ask like what's the difference between an officer and enlisted guy, that's it. Now some of the senior enlisted will also do that as well. Um, but uh, you know, directing fire sometimes will require you to not shoot. In fact, the way I learned it was very smart instructor said, "All right, Smith, you're too locked in on your sights. You're not watching what's going on. This next round, you're going to do it without a magazine loaded, and you're just going to pretend like you're shooting, but don't pretend too much because I want you to watch what everybody else is doing." So those were good lessons learned, and it's really easy to get sucked in and just start shooting versus really looking at what's going on. So, good question. Does your recon book prepare you for scout sniper course? I don't know. Um, Look, I mean, there's everything in it that you probably need as far as CFT, PFT, O course prep, um, lots of calisthenics, rucking, weights, swimming. It put it this way: if there's anything would, that would be the program to get because it is military, Marine Corps specific training, which you will see in any Marine Corps course you do. I play D1 football, have a solid PST, but that's about all I have going for me on my resume. I don't know any SEALs to write me a letter recommendation. Is this a deal breaker? No, it's not. Not at all. In fact, when I was on those boards, I would always look for um, people who really knew you, like your coach or a teacher or preacher, whatever. Just someone who knew you for a long period of time and saw you work and saw you struggle and excel. All those things are really helpful when you're reading these letters of recommendation versus you meeting a SEAL and taking 10 minutes to have an interview and then that person writes you a letter recommendation. I mean, a lot of times we would actually, because we knew the guys that they were interviewing with, we would call them and say, "Hey, how well you know this guy?" "Oh, I just met him for a quick interview. Nice guy." Um, we'd ask some specifics like, "Did you get into like what he did besides playing D1 football? Were there any other sports? How long has he been working out for this?" And no, I don't know about that. So there's sometimes people who don't know you aren't the best people to write letters of recommendation for you. Great question. Whenever I'm doing a example run weights and then go swimming, I tend to get cramps in the hamstrings, breaststroke mostly. I use carb fuel drink, while doing weights. Should I add in salty snack? Yes, I would definitely add in a salty snack. Um, I usually will do it's called drip drop. It's just powder that you put in your water, loaded with magnesium and sodium. Very helpful. In a crutch, when you can't do that, sometimes in fact, I have a can of chicken noodle soup in my truck that I will open up and just eat it right out of the can, especially if I'm one, low on carbs, but also two, low on sodium, been sweating profusely. That's a great way to treat dehydration and loss of electrolytes. I basically treat dehydration and loss of electrolytes the same way I treat the flu. And you can ask yourself, what makes you feel better when you're sitting at home and you got the flu is when someone comes in to your room and gives you a bowl of chicken noodle soup and you're like, hey, I feel better. Well, there's a reason for that is because you just had an influx of electrolytes after throwing them up and crapping them out for the last day and a half. So consider that as an option. I always keep one in my backpack too, just in case, it's hot and someone starts bonking and uh, starts cramping. We had one guy do a full body cramp, like abs, legs, ass, just everything. He was like in a ball, just couldn't move. It was a hot day. It's probably 95. We'd been working out for a couple hours, and he just went in a ball. And I was like, okay, this is pretty dangerous. Um, Gave him some water, gave him a can of chicken noodle soup, and 5 minutes later, he was wanting to work out again. I wouldn't let him because I'm like, no, you'll just be cramping in about 5-10 minutes too. But at least right now you're not. So go home, take a shower, cool down, all that stuff. So there you go. It can really help you in those situations. Do you do push ups every day during Hell Week? Not pull ups. You'll do push ups every day. You'll do push ups 5 days a week at Buds, but there's no need to train for 5 days a week of push ups. It literally is not that hard. The push ups. You'll get dropped and you do 30 and you'll do it 10, 15 times a day. You'll probably accumulate 300, 400 push ups and sets of 30 and 40. You'll get really good at push ups. So I don't do them every day. I do them like every other day, maximum 3 times a week. All right, last few questions. I got bail. Had two shoulder surgeries a couple years back. Shoulder's 100% now, and have been training for Buds recently. Surgeon said could write me a letter for Buds. Will I be able to pass MEPS? Yes, as long as you have all the information. Surgeries nowadays, even if you have labrum tears, it used to be in the 90s, if you had a labrum tear, you were disqualified for all military service. You could not join the Navy, period, unless you hit it, right? And that's kind of hard to do sometimes. Um, so, um, yes, you just need all the paperwork. A letter from your surgeon will help. The surgeon's notes will help. All of those things. Your letter, your physical therapy notes, PST scores, all of those things are going to be looked at by the MEPS doctors. How often do I squat? Depends. Mostly 2 times a week, but sometimes we have been flipping our upper body days 3 times a week and we do legs 3 times a week, but differently. Like one day it'll be a deadlift day, farmer carries, stuff like that. Another day will be squats and lunges. Um, but I think, put it this way, had some guys at Buds for the first 4 weeks, and they said they probably have done, 100 pull-ups all week. So even when they were on the grinder doing their pull-ups, they might have done a workout with 50 pull-ups on it, right? That they only did about 100. But they said they were lunging their butts off with logs, with boats, um, quite often, several days a week. So um, you definitely want to be able to handle a long lunge, like a 400-meter lunge, and not be sore 2 days afterwards, so you can run a 4-mile timed run. So I would say leg workouts are just as important as upper body workouts. And when I say leg workouts, just calisthenics. But you can add in some weights too, like sand baby chest carry lunges, shoulder carry squats. That'll help you simulate some of the logs and boat stuff you're going to do. So Mikhail says, see you tomorrow. You're welcome. Yeah, tomorrow I'll be back here at 9 o'clock and we'll review some combat swimmer stroke videos. So send those videos to me if you have them. You can send them to me at stu@stewsmith.com. If I missed any of your questions, you can also email me, stu@stewsmith.com. Also, check out stewsmithfitness.com for not only programs like these, but also programs and articles and training ideas that will help you. There's some great articles on there that are just if you do the 50-50 workout, that's an article. I don't it's in a lot of my fitness books too, but it's such a good and valuable workout that I made it an article and I talk about it often. But yeah, it's a great one to crush a swim test if you're not doing very well. I've seen guys go from 10-minute 500-yard swims to 8-minute 500-yard swims in about 3 to 4 weeks. So you can also check out if you're having problems with CSS, check out my TikTok, StuSmith50. If you don't have TikTok, that's fine. You can just go to the website, tiktok.com slash at StuSmith50. You don't have to download the app. It's just a website. You can see hundreds of CSS video critiques that I do over there. Also, they're on my Instagram, StuSmith50, in the Reels section as well. So last question, do I train guys in person who are getting ready for special forces? If so, where can I learn more? Heroesoftomorrow.org. I already posted it. If you just now came up here, I posted a link called, look at that, heroesoftomorrow.org. Check it out. That's what we do here locally. And best part, it's free. I don't charge anybody for local in-person group training. I don't do one-on-one personal training unless it's online training. All right, folks, I'm done. You guys have a good one. Thanks for asking great questions. And I will be back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Go Navy.